Hello and welcome to this video in which I will test the Luba Mini. We're going to test it together on a slope of about 35 degrees. We will also push it to the limit in a very difficult garden with bumps, holes, to see a bit how it performs. I also plan to test it at the borders to see if it leaves a lot of uncut grass, because as you can see, it has a single-centered cutting deck. So I assume it will leave more grass compared to the classic Luba 2. We will also do an object detection test and a range test for the RTK antenna to see if it detects at 100 meters, 200 meters. We will also see all the new features of this robot, and I will give you my opinion on the type of garden where it will be most suitable and perhaps the least suitable. Before starting the test, I suggest we start by installing the robot. We have a user and installation guide. The RTK antenna, in fact, will help the robot navigate the garden, and it will allow the robot mower to have centimeter-level precision. Here you can use this mounting system, which is designed either to be mounted on the wall or installed in the ground. Now go to the Mammotion app. There we can move forward with the joysticks, reverse, and turn with the other joystick. What will interest us is the map section, so we will click on it. Here we find 4 buttons. The first button is Mow, which for now doesn't interest us. The second is Manual. The third is Create. This one will interest us. We will press it and it will offer us 4 options. Either create a zone, so create a work zone, or create a forbidden zone, like around a pool where the robot has no access. The other option in blue is the corridor. In fact, this allows you to move the robot from one zone to another. It will allow it to cross. We also have the pattern section, which means we can create patterns directly on the lawn. Here it asks us to leave the station, so we can do it either manually or automatically. It asks us to direct the robot against the mowing perimeter of the garden. We will press Start, and now we have the choice between 2 modes. The first method is to outline manually, so we will outline the garden with the joysticks. The second method, it will outline automatically. We will also be able to manage the speed of movement, which is quite practical because if you have a large garden, sometimes it can take a bit long. So I will leave about 5 to 10 centimeters, especially on this part. And here we join the recorded starting point. We have the first zone created. To connect this zone with the other zone on the opposite side, I use the corridor. I just created all my zones and linked them, so with the corridor. Now we can have fun adding forbidden zones where the robot will not have access. If, for example, you don't want it to go to this part, we will outline the area where the robot has no access. On the map, we have an orange point. That's the area the robot won't have access to. To mow, we will press Mow. It will ask us which zone we want to mow. Here we have a work zone of 95 square meters. We can also adjust the cutting height from 2 centimeters to 6.5 centimeters. We can adjust the movement speed. Then we will be able to program the robot either now, for example, every Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, at what time, etc. There's something a little bit annoying. I don't know if this will be the case later, but we can't tell the robot to start with the edges. It will start from the middle. We can tell it to detect obstacles, and we can choose either grid or classic mowing. It will take about 5 minutes to do 100 square meters. We will let it start. We will now test outlining the garden with artificial intelligence. Let's go. So this is automatic. It leaves about 5 to 10 centimeters, still leaving quite a margin by the wall. For now, it's still passing quite far. It's leaving a good 10 centimeters. Here it perfectly detects the step. This is where it might be a bit more complicated, but it will still. It even goes into the flower bed. Yeah, it's so-so. Here it detects the border, but still touches a bit at the front. It saw it was touching, it goes around. Well, as we can see, the automatic mapping, I think it's not perfect yet. I tested it the first time, and it managed to outline almost everything. The only downside is that it left a lot of grass between the border and the robot. I would recommend doing it manually. In any case, outlining your garden doesn't take forever. Honestly, the mowing quality is spot on. The fact that it has a single deck doesn't prevent it from having a perfect mow. The images speak for themselves. If I show it like this across the whole garden, it's almost done mowing. And as promised, it left the small area in the middle where it couldn't access, so it didn't mow there. And there you go, the mowing is still quite clean, honestly. There's nothing to complain about. I will now quickly present the robot. It's a 4-wheel drive with serrated wheels at the front and also at the back. A wheel technology at the front that prevents it from damaging your lawn too much. In fact, when the robot turns on your lawn, we have these small wheels turning at the same time, which makes it just slide on the grass. It's quite practical to avoid tearing up your turf. At the front, we find a bumper that detects objects, trees. Here we have a light to illuminate at night. Now, I'm not sure what to call this here. Maybe dampers that allow the robot to adapt to different gardens. That is, if you have a stone or a branch, the robot will be able to lift like this and have all three wheels touch the ground. This allows the robot to adapt to difficult gardens. This front camera will help us detect objects. But not only that, we can also get a live video feed directly on your smartphone, provided the robot is connected to Wi-Fi. Here we have the rain sensor. This means that when it rains, the robot will return directly to the charging station. Very convenient. We have handles on the sides here to easily lift it. And at the back, the new feature, we can actually unclip the battery here. These are batteries that can easily be changed over time. And under the robot mower, we find a single deck with 6 blades that we can easily change, turn. All we have to do is unscrew. And we can adjust the cutting height from 2 centimeters up to 6.5 centimeters. The advantage of this deck is that it leaves a lot of space around to prevent the grass from accumulating. Usually, it shouldn't stick too much. The downside is that the deck is centered, meaning it may leave 15 to 20 centimeters of uncut grass at the borders. We'll test that later in the video. We will test live the object detection. I will put some shoes here. Will it run into them? Let's see. There you go, it detects and goes around the object. We will now test with fabric to see how it handles. Well, it's pretty low. Same. Will it detect the glove? I'd be surprised if it detects it. Okay, let's put it here. Yes. No. Yes. I thought it wasn't going to detect it. Small object test quite conclusive. Now we will test at night to see if it detects. Here it returns to recharge automatically and you will see the precision. Here's the new feature. We can now mow at night, even though it's not really recommended because of hedgehogs. But as you can see, we have a small light at the front that actually lights up the work area. There, it arrives in front of the object. It saw it, so it could be a hedgehog, for example. It's about the same size. It will go around. There you go. The object is bypassed. Honestly, it detects pretty well. Even at night, we'll now see the different tests. Before that, know that you'll find the link to the robot in the video description. If this video was helpful and if you want to order it, I would be very grateful if you use my link. It's an affiliate link, and you can also get a €50 discount on your first order. I pushed the robot mower to the extreme with a slope of about 35 degrees. To measure the slope, I use an app called Measure. We can see that when I press my phone against the bar, it shows 34 degrees. Some sections are at 35 degrees, and others are at 38 degrees and 41 degrees. What I did, I created a zone in the embankment and then started the robot. I didn't know immediately, but part of the bottom of the embankment is about 40 degrees. So the robot can't climb this part because it can climb slopes of up to 38 degrees or 80% maximum. When the robot can't climb, it detects the slope and will reverse and go around it.
Overall, I was quite surprised. I didn't want to cut the grass too short because there were quite a few branches, but it went almost everywhere, except for 2 or 3 small spots where the slope was greater than 38 degrees. Also, you can notice the surface was very damaged. There were a lot of bumps, and the soil was pretty wet, but that didn't stop it from mowing. In fact, I was pretty surprised because I didn't think it would climb this slope. I'm really happy with this test because it proved that the Luba Mini can climb slopes of over 35 degrees and up to 38 degrees. If you want to see the full test, it's available on the channel. I also did a range test to see how far the antenna and the robot could detect. I took the robot, went into manual mode, as you can see. So I sped up a bit, I covered a lot of meters. I would estimate about 100 meters, 150 meters, or more in a straight line, I'm not sure. You can see a bit. So we have a lot of obstacles between the antenna and the robot, including this mountain, quite a few houses, and we also have a tall tree. And there I also created a small zone we can see that the positioning is still good, and I let it mow. So the robot, we didn't have any positioning problems. The test was quite conclusive. I had already tested this with the Yuka, and I also managed to go that far. Maybe we can go even further. I also did a border test to see if it left a lot of uncut grass or not. So I will make it quick. There's a part against the wood where I left about 10 centimeters when I outlined my garden between the robot and the wood part. You always have to leave a small margin to prevent the robot from rubbing against the border. And here, again, I was pretty surprised. So the first test, I wasn't very satisfied because I thought it hadn't gotten very close to the borders. I did another test the next day, and this time, I removed the object detection with the camera. And it was much better. It went much closer to the borders. It completely shaved it, just like I asked. And in the end, at the borders, we have about 15 to 20 centimeters of uncut grass. It depends on the sections. After that, I wouldn't really recommend shaving the borders like I did. It might damage the wheels in the robot. Leave at least 5 to 10 centimeters, I think, between the robot and the border. And on the section where I already left about 5 to 10 centimeters, it left about 25, maximum 30 centimeters at other places. After that, well, we can't ask it to completely shave the borders. You will have to use an edge trimmer from time to time. If it bothers you, you can very well choose the Luba 2X, which has 2 decks and can get much closer to the borders. Well, I don't think it's a huge problem in the end. It's up to you to decide. Since it was raining that day, I looked a little bit to see if the grass was sticking underneath the robot. But the fact that there is a platform and no protective cover around it, I think that prevents the grass from accumulating under the robot. So for the small area I mowed, in the end, the grass stayed stuck, but not much. It wasn't catastrophic, frankly, and the grass was relatively damp, well wet. After, I didn't mow a lot either. I only mowed this small area, but it allowed me to see that there wasn't much grass stuck underneath. I also did a test in a very difficult garden where the Yuka had a little trouble, slipping in some places. We have quite a few holes, quite a few bumps, and a little slope, some areas at 21 to 25 degrees. And there, well, the Luba Mini did well, frankly. Thanks to its shock absorbers at the front, it can really adapt to small holes, small bumps without problem. Well, it was just to see a little how it performed. In some places, the bumper at the front brushed the ground. It was a finger away from touching, but it didn't touch. If it ever touched, it would reverse and go again. Or you can very well put a little dirt in the holes to prevent it from touching the bumper. In any case, well, the test was quite conclusive. To give you my opinion with the advantages and disadvantages I noted. First of all, with its 4-wheel drive, we could see that it was quite impressive, especially on slopes. And also, if you have bumps and holes in your garden, it is also ultra-precise thanks to the RTK antenna. It will pass almost anywhere. The cutting quality is excellent. Honestly, there's nothing to say about it. It is also, I find, easy to set up, programmable, and we can, of course, detect objects. As for the disadvantages, I noted that it will leave a little more grass around the edges, since the platform is centered. So you will need to count around 20 to 30 centimeters of uncut grass. So if that is a problem for you, you can go for the Luba 2X, which will mow much closer to the edges. After, I don't think it's a big problem, because in any case, you'll have to use the edge trimmer. And the second weakness is the small novelty, the smart mapping. I found it a bit mediocre for now. After, there may be updates in the future, and it might be a bit more reliable. And anyway, that's not really a big deal, since you can manually map it. So in the end, it's a small detail. So if you're hesitating between several robotic lawnmowers from the Mammotion brand, you can send me a private message. I will reply during the day and try to help you as much as possible with your choice. It's in the description of the video. And I recommend, if you have a flat garden, to take the Yuka. And on the other hand, if you have bumps, a bit of slope, holes, maybe the Luba 2. I tried to make the video as complete as possible. It took me a lot of time. If it was useful to you and if you want to order it, don't hesitate to use my link in the video description. It really supports my work. And on the website, you can get a €50 discount on your first order. It's always good to take. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I thank you. Subscribe. Well, ciao, ciao.